Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and were they gullible enough to fall into it?
The silence inside Buckingham Palace has just been broken. Behind thick, ancient walls once meant to survive real wars, something heavier than gossip now stirs. Doubt. The kind of doubt that makes the monarchy tremble. And Meghan Markle is suddenly no longer smiling for the cameras, because this time it isn't rumor. It's not some nameless source in a tabloid. It's not a harsh hashtag trending for a day then fading. This is formal, confirmed, quiet, yet undeniably real. A royal inquiry has begun, and it targets the most sensitive matter of all, the true birth records of Prince Archie and Princess Lineage.
Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
For years, Meghan guided the media like a Hollywood director. Managed baby bumps, soft garden portraits in black and white, Netflix-style monologues shaped carefully to control how people saw her. But the British monarchy doesn't follow PR rules, especially not with something as sacred as bloodlines. Whispers inside the palace say senior officials have quietly started a review, a full document-level archive search digging into the legitimacy of Meghan and Harry's children.
People think her kids are fake, they think they're AI, they think they're borrowed kids, like all these sorts of things because of Meghan and Harry.
And not because of Twitter theories, not because of tabloids, but because the royal line of succession relies on one thing only: proof. Confirmed, trackable, legally reliable proof.
Buckingham Palace is being pressured to remove Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet from the UK's royal line of succession until the Duchess provides absolute proof that she popped out both babies herself.
The monarchy cannot pass down rumors. It cannot crown uncertainty. And it all started with one quiet question softly raised by an archivist deep inside Buckingham Palace. If everything is proper, why does none of it appear normal on paper? Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born on May 6, 2019. At first, everything looked ordinary. His arrival was announced, a certificate was issued, and Meghan was listed under her legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle.
Meghan entered this world like it was a Hollywood set, assuming she could rewrite the script, center herself in every scene, and edit out anything that didn't fit her narrative.
Standard procedure. Nothing unusual until suddenly, without any clear reason, something shifted. Exactly 1 month later, the original birth certificate was altered. Meghan's personal name was removed, replaced by the royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Not as a formality, not as a note, but as a retroactive correction, a legal rewrite. One that palace historians and legal analysts found extremely rare.
And then they put out pictures of Lilibet, but it doesn't. You see her half covered, right. But what you always see is Meghan. So it's all about Meghan again.
Royal birth records are prepared with absolute care, signed by doctors, checked by clerks, and sealed by palace staff before the public ever sees them. They aren't redesigned, they aren't meant for image crafting, and they are never, under any condition, changed after the fact unless something is off. When the press spotted the alteration, Meghan's team moved quickly. They said the palace made the update without her approval. They portrayed her as the target of institutional meddling.
Then when the baby was born, when Archie was born, that was another, in my view, a disaster, because I knew we was not going to get a picture of it. Everybody was hoping we would get pictures of it.
But the palace quietly responded that Meghan had actually requested the update herself for branding consistency. Two conflicting stories, no verified documents, no clear timeline, no real explanation. And that clash created the first fracture. Because in a system where every royal child's identity must be secured through records, witnesses, and lineage rules, this sort of revision is a warning sign. It wasn't just the change that unsettled officials, it was the pattern, and what that pattern suggested.
Delivery certificates, and I heard stories early on around the time Archie was allegedly in utero and being born. I heard stories that royal staffers were not allowed to see or touch her abdomen.
Because if the birth certificate was altered without clarity, what else was kept out of sight? In the British monarchy, tradition is law, especially regarding royal births. Every senior royal baby for decades has followed the same strict process: medical oversight, official witnesses, and a ceremonial announcement displayed on a gold-framed easel outside the hospital. It's not just show, it's constitutional record-keeping, a ritual meant to prove that everything, every detail, every title is real. But none of that happened for Archie.
She says to Carling that her surname isn't Markle but Sussex. And she was desperate to get it. She said we never had a proper surname, and of course they did.
There was no easel, no verified hospital sighting, no public photographs of the newborn in his first hours of life. Only silence, followed later by polished PR images that looked more like a brand rollout than a royal moment. Palace insiders reportedly began murmuring. Staff who had assisted during past royal births sensed something different. Some even said they were kept from getting near Meghan throughout her pregnancy, that no one outside her inner circle was allowed to confirm anything themselves. And beyond the palace, the internet ignited with theories. Was Meghan truly pregnant? Was a surrogate involved? Was the baby born where they claimed? Was there a reason no medical team had confirmed the birth on record? The less she revealed, the louder the questions became.
All of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy. And I thought, what is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy pool.
But the palace didn't move from emotion. This wasn't sparked by conspiracy talk or personal opinions. It was driven by documentation. Because for every royal birth, there are rules, procedures, and official records, and in Archie's case, almost all of them were missing. So the question that finally pushed the palace forward wasn't dramatic, it was quietly unsettling in its simplicity. If this was a normal royal birth, why does none of the paperwork show it? If Archie's documents raised concerns, Leet's birth triggered alarms. She arrived on June 4th, 2021. But not in London, not in a royal medical center, not under the care of the monarchy's doctors. Instead, the announcement came through a press statement written by Meghan and Harry's team in California. No palace roll, no UK medical staff, no certified midwife, no official witness submitted to the crown. There was no traceable document confirming where, how, or by whom the birth took place. And to an outsider, it might look like a choice for privacy, but within Buckingham Palace, it triggered a constitutional headache.
It is uncomfortable. I don't think, because she's done this before for photos, I don't think that is a real baby bump. I think
way too big. It's way too big.
And sort of too low as well.
Yeah, it's like a metre out there. I mean, It looks the wrong shape.
Where's she going to give birth there? Through her knees or something? I mean, that is...
Because royal births aren't just family memories. They are legal events, institutional moments entered into history so that no one, not now or decades from now, can question the line of succession. When a baby is born into the royal family, the birth must be witnessed, recorded, and verified, not for sentiment, but for the monarchy's survival. But in Leet's situation, the palace received nothing. No documents, no hospital records, no royal verification. All they had were photos, and those only brought up new doubts. Each picture Meghan shared during her pregnancy looked noticeably different. One bump looked high, another low. Some seemed too large for the stage she reported. Others looked flat just weeks apart. People online noticed lighting changes, angles that altered shape, stomach curves that seemed to disappear depending on the camera. And then, quietly, the doctor linked to the delivery stepped out of the spotlight. She stopped giving interviews. She didn't confirm the birth. She simply disappeared. Inside the palace, staff slowly realized something unsettling. This wasn't about doubting Meghan as a mother. It was about the complete absence of normal institutional confirmation. The crown wasn't asking for pictures. It was asking for proof. Because without proof, succession cannot stand. If the birth records were unclear, the christening shattered every royal expectation.
Thanks everybody and just produce a DNA sample or proof of delivery. If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
Traditionally, royal children are baptized in the Church of England by senior Anglican clergy in ceremonies recorded with the same formality as a legal agreement. These events aren't casual gatherings. They're constitutional steps filed, witnessed, and preserved. They secure the child's standing in the line of succession under both royal and religious law. But when Liat was christened, none of that occurred. Instead of returning to the UK, Meghan and Harry held a private ceremony in Montecito, California, officiated by Bishop John Taylor of the Episcopal Church. A respected spiritual figure, yes, but not Anglican, not royal, not part of the institution that protects British royal tradition. No Anglican entry, no official baptism record.
William was born and Harry was born and George and Charlotte and Louis. We got great pictures outside the hospital, I remember. And William and Catherine especially, they made such an effort.
No confirmation by the Church of England. For royal archivists, this wasn't just a breach of etiquette, it was a legal nightmare. Because under the monarchy's rules, an episcopal christening on American soil does not count as official, not for a royal heir, not for someone in the line of succession. And still, Meghan presented it like a celebration. Photos were shared, press releases were issued, sentimental words were posted. But none of it mattered to palace officials because none of it was real, at least not in the eyes of the crown. Without Anglican verification, the ceremony carried no institutional weight. And behind closed doors, that realization sent shockwaves through royal protocol. If Lita wasn't baptized under the Church of England, her place in the royal order could be invalidated. And if the baptism was just a private affair done outside of royal oversight, what did that mean for everything that followed? The deeper the palace looked, the stranger things became. At first, officials hoped the holiday cards, the cheerful, curated family portraits Meghan and Harry released each year, might offer clarity, proof, continuity, something to confirm that all was well behind the scenes. But the moment they examined the photos, the whispers got louder.
It was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump. The fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
In one image, Archie looked significantly older than his reported age, with facial features that didn't match prior public appearances. In another, Liat's head tilt and skin tones appeared subtly mismatched with Meghan's hand and arm shadows. It wasn't just speculation. Professional photo analysts began speaking out. They pointed to texture shifts, reflection anomalies, and depth of field mismatches, signs typically associated with compositing or digital grafting, not natural photography. Some noticed that Meghan's arms seemed unnaturally stiff, as if cradling a placeholder rather than a moving child. Others observed lighting inconsistencies between subjects, even when standing inches apart. And this time, the palace was listening. Because royal photographs aren't just pretty pictures. They're evidence, public records, archival moments used to track and trace lineage over time. If these images were edited, if the palace couldn't confirm the authenticity, then everything else needed to be checked too. Suddenly, what had once seemed like innocent holiday cheer now looked like a puzzle with missing pieces. Were the children present in every photo, or were they added after? Were these moments real or manufactured? And if something as basic as a Christmas card couldn't be verified, what else had been carefully constructed?
That's really so awful because they're not getting to meet their cousins and to know their cousins. Such a shame for them.
Inside the palace, the tone shifted from curiosity to concern because this wasn't about Meghan's personality, not her interviews, not her documentaries. This was about law, royal law. If a royal child's birth is not verified through proper medical oversight, if their baptism is not registered under Anglican tradition, if their identity is presented through stylized media instead of institutional documentation, then their claim to succession becomes fragile, contestable, potentially invalid, and that terrifies the monarchy, far more than any podcast or paparazzi headline. Behind closed doors, senior advisors reportedly began asking difficult questions. If these matters go unresolved, what happens if a political challenge arises, a legal challenge, a future monarch's authority question because someone failed to verify a birth certificate? And the answer was simple. The entire constitutional order could unravel.
So, palace officials made a decision, one they never take lightly. They opened a quiet internal verification review, not to humiliate Meghan, not to spark media storms, but to protect the monarchy from future collapse. Because royal succession isn't sentimental, it isn't emotional. It's not about Instagram posts, sympathetic speeches, or public tears.
Why not, Father Calvin, just put the bill to Parliament now? Just strip them.
Well,
just strip them of their titles. I'm done.
It's about recorded truth. And if that truth cannot be proven, titles can be suspended, recognition can be withheld, royal status can be frozen indefinitely. For Meghan, this is the nightmare she never saw coming. She built a brand, an empire on the illusion of control. She left the monarchy to tell her own story, to be the narrator, the editor, the lead actress, the lens. But the one thing she cannot narrate is lineage law. And she knows it because everything she and Harry created after leaving the royal family, every deal, every headline, every Netflix episode rests on the assumption that their children are royal, not just in blood, but in paperwork. That assumption was worth tens of millions. Streaming platforms, book publishers, interviewers all paid premium attention because Archie and Lilibet were perceived as modern royal heirs. But if the palace's review concludes there are gaps in that narrative, if documents are missing, if protocol wasn't followed, if any part of the record is unverifiable, then those deals lose value. Suddenly, Meghan and Harry aren't royalty in exile, they're just another celebrity couple. With good lighting, Hollywood doesn't cancel, it forgets, it stops calling, it moves on to the next royal scandal, the next fresh face, the next trending couple. And Meghan knows it because without her children's royal status, the mystique collapses, the narrative falls apart, the invitations dry up, and no PR team in the world can fix that. The palace isn't seeking revenge, it isn't trying to make headlines, it's doing what it has always done, protecting the crown. Lineage is not negotiable. It is not subject to opinion or sentiment. It must be proven, documented, traceable, even if that means verifying events that Meghan hoped would never be questioned. And now, as Meghan paces in Montecito, surrounded by PR teams and stylists, there's one thing she cannot silence: the quiet murmur of institutional power. Because Buckingham Palace doesn't shout, it doesn't leak, it doesn't spin, it simply reviews the files. And once that process begins, no amount of charm, nostalgia, or Netflix edits can stop it. Whatever this internal investigation uncovers, whether it confirms everything or exposes the unthinkable, the consequences reach far beyond gossip. They touch on titles, heritage, global perception, commercial dreams, future recognition, all balanced on a single truth. Constitutional legitimacy is the one story Meghan cannot write, edit, or narrate.